So, ladies and gents, welcome. We've got to play all three, and this is a big one for both players. Right now, Liereyy is the best player in who many feel like is the group of death. He's 5 wins, 1 loss after 2 rounds. He is here in the blue, playing as the Franks. And then we've got Vivi. I should probably change his name here and change his name here. Vivi has 2 wins after 2 rounds, and the goal for him has got to be just to get a win today. He got 3-0'd against Viper last week. I honestly felt like he maybe should have won one of those games. So the fact that he was close to winning one of those games is a pretty big deal. And anyways, Vivi, I do think is just the underdog, but he's picked Byzantines here as a counter to Franks, which he had done against Sobek, where he got one of his victories in his 2-1 win there. Now, this group is pretty nuts, right? Liereyy, Tato, and then also Viper in the same group. Only one player can be first. So if you're either of those 3 and you're playing someone that's not like the others, right? Aim for getting that 3-0 every single time. Liereyy and Viper will play, I think, we don't know 100%, but it would most likely be the last round to close out group stage. So that'll be pretty incredible when that day comes. Right now, though, Liereyy going 4 on wood, which is not something you would typically see with the Franks. And I think he's doing this because he's thinking about maybe going man-at-arms instead of scouts, because the Byzantines have those cheap spears. Now, this is weird. Liereyy forgot to make a house, so he actually is going to be down a villager because he's got to rush Loom a little bit early. Yeah, map is Land Madness. Typically, it's very open, very aggressive. Vivi, though, is going to try and play defense and use the cheap counter units of the Byzantines here. I'm shocked Liereyy didn't pick Chinese for this. I think Chinese is the #1 Civ, and Chinese was his #1 pick. So I'm not sure what Liereyy expected. But then again, we come in with the perspective of, I've watched the games, and I know Vivi picked Byzantines on Land Madness. Does Liereyy know that? Did he look at it? Did he check it out? I don't know. Yeah, Lierey's definitely going to try and shake things up a little bit here, because he feels like going stable units, at least initially, just plays right into the Byzantines' hands. All right, so I want to touch on one thing. So we had an issue with a map, and with a generation yesterday, and overnight we pushed out a change, and we deliberately have given every player 2 berries, and we've made it more structured than before. We realized there was a chance that sometimes the berries would be problematic. So there's consistently going to be 2 berry generations near each player's base, instead of sometimes it being 1 and sometimes it being 2. So that's notable, and maybe why Liereyy would have wanted to do the Franks pick here, because they do have the berry bonus. Now, again, before, it would, the way this map works is you've got resources spread out everywhere. And we had an instance where it was kind of like this for Liereyy, and then there was in second bushes for someone over in Vivi's position here. So Vivi, being very greedy, clicks up a 20 pop. Hasn't scouted his opponent yet at all, and honestly, just play safe, play risky, though. Or play greedy, I guess is the word I'm looking for. If you don't have scouting intel, you should wall up, which is what Vivi's doing here. We'll see if Vivi does it on the wood line and everywhere else, though, because Liereyy has already scouted some of that. Liereyy scouted this wood line, and he knows the other wood is over here. So, man-at-arms for Liereyy. Into archers. He's the best archer player in the game. I don't think there's any dispute on that. And it's not just the damage that he can do, but it's the timing on the upgrades, and then how good his eco can be behind it. His food eco should be pretty bonkers. You have the berry underneath the TC as well, which he hasn't even finished yet. And then he could always switch over here to these berries later. I think Vivi, though, just spotted the militia. I should have probably shown that. My apologies, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he knows, and he's adding those palisades now. He had kind of already done so, but Vivi off to find his opponent. Liereyy with the 3 militia moving forward, looking for some damage here. And Vivi seems okay. Now, he will have to actually fully build the palisade walls, but Vivi opens with an archer range. And he'll add a spear, and it'll probably just be a bunch of skirms for Vivi. Guys, Vivi gets a win here. Could be huge to try and snag 4th place and stay alive in this group. It pretty much feels like a given that is the best that Vivi will be able to achieve. The same with, obviously, Sobek and Classic Pro, as Liereyy goes into the town center fire there a little bit. Didn't take too much damage, though. He'll see the range from Vivi. This will come as no surprise. But he will also see that Vivi is not on gold right now. Liereyy actually chose not to go for not to go for the Man-at-Arm upgrade because he saw all the walls. So it should be pretty easy for Vivi now, who's just going to farm away as he's done with the food underneath his TC. Important that he gets the farm timing up. It can be a struggle to get the army out and the farms up at the same time. Liereyy with some nice little control right now, but ultimately has to wait for his own units. And he's just going skirms right now. So he's going to have his own skirms. Still curious to see if Liereyy will go for the berries. It feels like Lierey's more comfortable with farming, because that's, in a normal game, that's his comfort zone. But I think you should probably go, yeah, I think you should go to the second berries if you're Franks. That's really smart. There goes Vivi. He's leaving his base right now as we have the tiny army moving in from, Vivi's leaving his base. And now Liereyy moves in, and there's an over forage here. That villager's probably going to die. Vivi's not really a quick wall player. You see, placed a palisade there, but that never really is going to accomplish much. And that's avoidable. But obviously a risk has been taken. I think Liereyy sees this army from Vivi's here. Liereyy must realize that there's a reason that there's no army from Vivi at home. And Vivi's going to lose another villager to this. Really sloppy stuff here. You know those range units are going to come forward. It could be that he's microing here, though. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And villager. Liereyy, run away with it. Okay, villager dead there as well. Honestly, pretty sloppy from both. We did have a tough time getting this series started. Due to some, well, I mean, horrible draft errors. They misclicked on map and civ drafts and had to do 4 separate ones. But then also the lobbies were crashing. So it could be, it's just going to take a bit until they really feel sharp here. I like the counterattack from Vivi. Obviously, losing the villagers on the berries wasn't great, but you just got to play in towards Castle Age in this matchup. Even if you're slightly behind heading to Castle Age, still advantage Byzantines. And when people are making lots of skirms, usually that leads in towards a stable and scouts. Or in Castle Age, that would open up the possibility for knights. I think Liereyy kind of has the opportunity to play towards his civ strengths, but obviously you play towards knights and your opponent then can make camels. That could be really problematic. So that's kind of where I expect this game to go. I want to just see what the situation is. Resources collected. It's very even. Food count spiked a bit. And then the gold count is there for Liereyy. And if they're fighting with basically the same type of army and it's a ranged army, you always need to favor the Austrian here. He's got sick archer micro. Now, I predicted before TTL started with all the results in our prediction contest that this would be a 2-1 victory for Liereyy today. Coming into the series, though, having seen them both play, I was thinking more of a 3-0 situation for Liereyy because Liereyy has looked really clean. It's not a surprise with Liereyy, but in the previous year's group stage, he had 9 wins and 6 losses, and it didn't feel like he was really that sharp until the playoffs came. I kind of expected a similar thing here. But man, as he looked good, and this is a map that both players, whether or not they've trained, doesn't really matter. I think they both would be pretty comfortable. Now, fletching can't be researched for Vivi right now because he's waiting for the gold income. And Liereyy just hasn't researched fletching. So we've got fletching-less skirms against each other. It's cheaper skirms for Byzantines. So you're not going to shy away from making more of them, but just the starting scout found so much value there, and the militia are still alive for Liereyy. Liereyy with 11 kills and 4 deaths, and it's not like crazy game-ending damage, but he's just chipping away at Vivi with skirmishers. Vivi's going to get fletching now, and Vivi will save the villagers. I'd like to see him maybe even pull a villager here to fight back the skirms. But he's had a pretty patient approach. And now maybe the villagers can help, and fletching will come in for Vivi. No fletching for Liereyy. But I don't think Liereyy ultimately is going to complain seeing his opponent's gone fletching for a unit that he plans on countering with knights. I think it's the whole thought process. Yeah, the skirms are cheaper, but force your opponent to make a lot of them, go into upgrades. Vivi thinking I'm now ahead in the skirm battle. But in reality, if you really think about it, maybe those skirms are all just going to die against one knight soon. Or a scout, actually. The scout edition's really nice. I like this, just to keep this army away from you for a little bit longer. Yeah, so it's been all Liereyy so far this game, guys. The question the Franks, but I think maybe he saw the updated map. We did post it for the players, like, hey, FYI, the second berries is more consistent. You can definitely count on it now. And he took it all. And there's even hunt rounds here he could take too. Like, that's pretty crazy stuff. So Vivi's got to click up, and then he's got to hope that he can defend with the cheap counters. And if he does not die in early Castle Age, again, advantage Byzantines. But Byzantines not having an eco bonus has definitely played its role here. And Liereyy taking advantage of his eco bonus. It's not hugely significant, the food difference, but the control is pretty wild right now. And Vivi still doesn't really have an answer to the little scout skirm play at the moment. And the scouts are going to hold these skirmishers back. Vivi is going to maybe need to rely on spears before camels here, because Liereyy will be up here soon. The eco KD is about to be 3-1, assuming Liereyy can kill that. And nice job from Vivi to save it. Vivi's dropping the stables, thinking about camels, but Lierey's up already. It's pretty insane. That's a really good uptime there. Didn't have any blacksmith upgrades in, which is interesting, but I don't know if he'll really need them right away. Let's see if Vivi can hold here, guys. Like, Vivi knows he's the underdog, right? Outcome is no surprise to him. His wood line's being harassed, but he has walled it up. And then over here, his gold's being harassed. And there, he still doesn't lose a villager. Has enough spearmen around. It feels like Liereyy should be killing some of these vills. The weak one that was on the farms earlier was moved. So that's not it. And there, Vivi does end up losing a villager finally. But he could have been way worse at this point. Now the knights show up and, oh god, Vivi. Oh man, he's just completely forgotten about this. It's so much pressure. And that's 2 villagers down. Still no reaction from Vivi. Oh, gee, this is rough. He reacts very late. And it feels like that is enough damage to be happy with things in early castle, and then maybe shift this towards an economic approach if you're Liereyy. Liereyy doing a great job with his unit control here, and you just see the difference between the two. Vivi's just defense, late reactions, and Lierey's the one setting the pace of the game. Felt like right there, just like those 3 villagers, everything else was fine. You don't lose those 3 villagers. Could be okay, and maybe he's still okay, right? He's making camels, he's making some monks. You pick Byzantines knowing you're going to be behind with the offensive potential. Liereyy does drop TC number 2. He's also starting to snag relics, and we see a fight taken. Camels versus knights. Knights don't have any armor right now. And honestly, the fight wasn't too bad for Vivi. Lierey's actually come forward with his monks, though, to try and convert some of these camels, and the pressure continues, and there's an overchop on the wood line. Some good patience from Vivi, from Liereyy, rather, so he can convert a camel. He converts the strongest one. And we need more camels right now for Vivi. The knights and the scouts and everything here are just getting so much value. As he tries to run away, his units are just boxed out, and this is still open here. The pressure nonstop from Liereyy. It is still camels versus knights. It's like the monks always have to be here for Liereyy to feel like he's going to take a good engagement. Liereyy on the hill. Vivi with some desperation just to kill that monk. But he does kill the monk. And he does also get away there. He will have his own monk soon. He's on 2 TCs. He's only 5 villagers behind. He's Byzantines versus Franks. And, you know, Liereyy is currently being attacked by a tiger. 2 TCs as well. It's not like he's building up on stone for a forward castle or anything. It's not like his eco is set up for anything but monks and knights right now. And I could definitely see this going late. And if it goes late, some big questions for the Franks. Eventually, the Franks will try and go pikeman knight here. But for now, I think Lierey's just going to back away. And crazy how Vivi's just been able to hang in here, right? Sure, it's been sloppy, but he's a player who puts a lot of his focus on the economy and not saving vills, but like adding more and adding more farms and things like that. He's just got that greed to him. There's the TC from Liereyy. I love the TC positions. I honestly think they're textbook. And I also love this. 2 knights doing more damage than the whole group of knights had done before. And he's just checking the wood lines, and he finds 2 more villager kills there. Vivi looping around with camels right now. Also, look at this wood situation. It's really weird. Vivi wants a counterattack. Liereyy will see the camels if he's paying attention to this monk just passing. 1 camel might not be enough to kill it, but Lierey'd have to react immediately. Okay, that's going to be a dead monk. Vivi drops the TC. This is a no man's land TC. It's not on the stone or on the gold, but it's between the wood. Maybe that's part of it. And Vivi right underneath the TC with camels, heading towards the wood line here. Camel raid is my favorite type of raid, guys. And here we go. Camel raid starting. Liereyy needs his quick walls. Liereyy, he waits till the last second. I wonder when players do that, like players of Lierey's caliber, if that's a flex. I do that as early as possible. It could be that he also just didn't see it in time, and then, you know, maybe he's waiting for some monks as the camels run on the wood line. Meanwhile, we have an engagement here. Liereyy takes some losses, but he does kill a monk, and the camels are chewing up vills. Liereyy converted 2 camels. He still doesn't have units here. But Liereyy does find this TC and fully deny it as well. So the Eco KD 12-4 now. And, you know, Vivi's made it messy, and it's 60 population for him. He's definitely behind, as we'll see another conversion for Liereyy. Nice job from Liereyy. He might actually be able to keep that monk alive, which would be huge here. I think Vivi might be trying to run in here just so he can go kill that thing. More villagers going down in the wood line for Vivi. And Vivi's now at sub 50 villagers. And his army is going to be cleared up. Lierey's killed 14 eco. He's been on 3 TCs. Vivi's just on 2 because this got denied. And he's only killed 4 eco from Liereyy this game. Amazing engagements for Liereyy, both in defense and also in attack. 58 to 38 KD. He also has just as many monks on the field to be able to heal up. And this is now where, you know, the Frank players built up a better eco than you. They've been mining stone. It's a combination of knights, monks, but now pikemen. This is just so textbook. This is so good. Here, takes the fight. Has weak units. Was able to take a good engagement there. Wasn't able to kill the camel, though. This definitely feels like a forward castle's incoming. So this fight's going to be pretty important whenever it happens. Camel raid again for Vivi. Did Teutons get banned on the draft? I don't think either player picked Teutons. Someone asked about Teutons the other day on Lands Madness. I think it's a comfort pick for Viper or maybe Yo, but I don't think other players are going to be going Teutons. And it's really hard to kill monks with camels, guys. They're low attack and you got too close. And Vivi's fortunate not to have lost more there. But now you know that the camels are in the back. You see this stone and all this eco back here. I think this is where you want to drop the castle. Guys, Franks have not really been dominating tournaments for a while. There's a lot of civs that have good counterplay to Franks, right? I'm really surprised that the devs made Frank castles more expensive in Castle Age. Is anyone else surprised by that? Like, having been around a really long time, it wouldn't have surprised me if when DE came out they did it. But they've introduced so many civs with strong pikes and strong camels and strong eco bonuses. And just strong bonuses in general. Civs that are more well-rounded than Franks. I was really surprised they pushed out a Franks nerf. So, you know, it is 550 stone now in Castle Age. I think it's the 488 or whatever it was in Imp now. So it's a little bit harder for Liereyy to get the castle. Vivi. Monks. Oh my god. Oh my god. I mean, if more conversions could have happened there, this could have been a horrible fight for Liereyy, but the monks, well, they're in there. They're healing away. There's still some alive. And most of the knights died from Liereyy. Maybe a little distracted, maybe, but he is clearing up the pikemen right now. And let's see. I mean, surely Vivi knows. They saw the villagers. Surely he knows that was going to be a forward castle from Liereyy. And Lierey's probably questioning if he wants to go forward with it now. Maybe he expands for defensive castles at this point. He's got +2 attack, which I think is great here because it applies to the knights and also his pikes. And here we go. He's trying to force the issue. Vivi, 15 villagers behind. It's full pikeman from Liereyy and full monk, and the castle's probably not in the ideal spot, but if it goes up, it'll still be a good position to hold. The castle seems like it will complete for Liereyy. He continues economically to be in a better position, and this castle could probably lead to more castles. The positive for Vivi is that the castle wasn't here, because I think that's the ideal position. It's on the town center. It's on the stone. And people are saying they're not surprised. They did it for low elo people. You can play without getting Frank Castle dropped every second. Interesting. Okay. Just curious. Just curious on your thoughts. I think, can we agree that maybe it was a little late then? If that's the target for the decision? With all the other things all the balance patches we've had, I'm surprised it happened in 2023, you know? But hey, as one-sided as the Franks may feel, Franks are Franks. Knights, Pikes, Eco, sure, their range units are kind of awful, and sure, they're awkward, and sure, there's a lot of civs that can counter, like the Byzantine. But you could play them so smoothly with this economy. I think Lierey's not mining stone right now. I think he ran out of it, so he's going to buy a little bit more for the next castle. So tricky to stop this at this point if you're Vivi. Like, the snowball is officially happening. And you would need to play into archers, probably, in the long run, in combination with camels to have any success. But you can't address this. The scorpions are going to get taken out. Vivi is imping right now, which is pretty incredible. That's Byzantines for you. Cheaper Imperial Age. But Liereyy came in here, and it's just been... Aggression has been the focus. And there's never really been a moment where he's looked in trouble at home. Castle for Vivi could always be denied by the Knights and Pikemen as well. At least like 5 to 10 villagers could be killed. You got to be careful here. Like, Vivi's not expecting Liereyy to go underneath the TC, but why wouldn't he? He's got 2 forward castles. He knows you're going to try and treb this down, and you don't have the army right now. And so more villagers will die here. All the monks are getting picked off. Castle will still probably go up, and Vivi will still have an opportunity in Imp, but it is Liereyy right now. His Pikes and his Knights killed, like, what, 5 villagers there? And maybe 5 monks? But hey, I mean, guys, Castle's going to go up. And Vivi will be an Imp. And he can make trebs. He also has a 4th TC. Lierey's adding his 4th TC. Also, I really have to sneeze, and my mute button's not working. I apologize. One sec. Oh, my God. Okay, it was teasing me. I didn't think I was actually going to sneeze. I tried to sneeze away from the mic. It caught me off guard. Just like Vivi's been caught off guard by Lierey's Knights countless times. But hey, I mean, Byzantine units are really cheap, okay? So you don't need as good of an economy. The Byzantine castle's strong. So you could probably make the trebs there, no problem. Vivi's got 9 monks, which... He hasn't had the best monk control this game, but he's in a position to be able to convert knights and force Liereyy away. And Liereyy lost a lot of pikemen. Oh, man, Vivi's really exposed over here, though. Look at his vision. Liereyy can't see these villagers. But yeah, like, Liereyy lost the majority of his pikemen. The Lierey's going to click Imp. The castles are going to buy him a lot of time. But he has to be careful where he goes with these knights, because Vivi is prepared. I think Vivi, though, he should probably be thinking about a unit choice other than monk. He's just going Vills, monks, and not even a treb right now. Vivi, my friend, you need the wood for trebs. Is it just me, or does Vivi not have a market? I feel like he doesn't have a market. If he had a market, he probably would have just bought the wood. Let's look at resources collected here. The fact that Vivi's still alive is so Vivi, but also so Byzantines. Lierey's collected 7,000 more resources. I think what Liereyy does have, though, is he's got Vivi pinned. So, like, Vivi is very little side control. This is exposed. This is exposed. And so, even if you're heading in towards counter units, raiding with light cab feels really realistic with the amount that Liereyy has on food at the moment. I would like to see that. I mean, he's controlling this right now. But he'll see the monks. And this is probably where we see some light cav head over here. Castles still haven't been trebbed down. Like, it took so long for the trebs to come out for Vivi. And there's that market. That answers our question. Little counterattack from Vivi. I like it. Getting some damage in with Knights he converted. Monk's still exposed. If only Liereyy had made outposts over here, he would know about these villagers. That's the last thing he's expecting. More Vivi Knights could find kills. Great job from Vivi there, too. If he continues to surprise me, it's like right when I think he's dead, he's back in it and got an opportunity. But this is where the raids on both sides are going to start to catch up with Vivi, and I think he's going to struggle to be able to push mid when there's light cav hitting him on the left and also the right-hand side. Liereyy will be happy to give up this castle. In fact, he's expecting it at this point. And Lierey's now killed 32 villagers, and this is before imp upgrades. He's just now hit imp. Now, this castle, Liereyy might also be expecting to lose because he's getting conscription there. He's not even making any trebs. So he's like, fine, Vivi, take down my castles. They're cheap. And they might not be as cheap as they used to be, but they're still cheap, and there's stone and gold all over this map that I'm going to use to go kill you, regardless of how, cheap your counter units may be. You know what counters counter units? More of the units that they counter. Feels kind of... I wouldn't necessarily suggest that as an actual plan, but numbers and upgrades do matter. And that is where Liereyy is dominating right now. And poor Vivi, I mean, he's making camels now because he's seeing only cav, which is obviously fantastic. It's not a bad plan. But Lierey's just got him on the left. He's got him on the right, too. And Lierey's going to have halbs here pretty soon. I think... after you show help to your opponent, I think you just save for Paladin. Because, like, Lierey's probably going to force Vivi out of Camel and into range units or something. I don't know. As weird as it sounds, I mean, Elite throwing Axeman would actually be pretty sick. As we're seeing more and more castles here from Liereyy on gold positions. But you're not probably not going to be spending a lot of gold if you're just making light cav and halb. So... maybe click Cavalier, maybe just slowly try and go for the... think about the finishing blow. Vivi misclicked his trebs, guys. He tried to click onto the castle, he clicked to the side of the castle. There's been so many instances of slop for Vivi. I'm really concerned for the guy in this series. But, you got to give full credit to Liereyy because Lierey's everywhere. And you don't realize that misclick happens because you're looking here, and you're looking here, and you're trying to stabilize constantly. The throwing Axemen, they're throwing... they're axing the monks down, and Axemen should do pretty decent damage against camels as well. These are not heavy camels. These are not camels with imp upgrades. This is over. 200 population for Liereyy and full map control. 4 relics on top of all the golds and stones. And Vivi just sitting at 100 population here. And he calls the GG. So, I thought it was a game that almost fell right into the slot of expected for me. Liereyy with a civilization that could be countered by Vivi, but Liereyy knowing that, consistently applying pressure the entire game. There were instances and there were attempts from Vivi, which were very well played to get some counter damage in, and he did stay alive towards Imp, which is where Byzantine should have the edge. But the economy and the control from Liereyy was just too strong here. And that's why, a lot of people are feeling like 3-0 for Liereyy today, because all the maps are going to be somewhat similar. They both prefer the lands maps. And Vivi's home map is, I think, Graveyards, right? Which could be seen as similar to Land Madness, but 52,000 resources collected versus 37,000. Crazy res difference from Liereyy, and he's all warmed up now. I think his game plan was perfect. I think the militia into skirm play was really smart. Trying to play into scouts is probably making it easier for the Byzantines. So, played in towards heavy skirm play. Forced the opponent to invest into skirmishers and get upgrades. He never got a single ranged upgrade himself here. 74 eco killed from Liereyy that game. So, prior to the series, I was saying that Vivi's going to pick Burgundians, and he's going to take the risk again, because he got one win with them before on this map, and he happened to get a pretty close gen. Now, if you read the patch notes, we also did, basically the generation that Vivi got versus Sobek, we feel should have never happened on Graveyards. And the man, made the most of it. And the map is meant to be a bit more open and expansive. And open and expansive is not where the Burgundians tend to shine. Now, again, just to reiterate it, like first round, Vivi wins with Burgundians on graveyards. Second round, he then picks Burgundians on graveyards. Second round, he was versus Viper, and he got punished pretty badly and lost. But he still got to a castle. He still got to his unique unit, which is kind of what he wanted. And here he's up against the Chinese, and I was curious of Liereyy. He picked Chinese first. Would he use it on Golden Pit, which he did against Tato? Or would he use Chinese here? And he's actually gone for Chinese here, which surprises me because I feel like this map is harder to wall than Golden Pit. But it's not a bad pick. Like, I think Chinese being a #1 pick would have been an opportunity for Vivi. Now, I'm still very confused. Vivi picked... Okay, so this is Vivi's home map, right? He played with his 4th pick now, Burgundians. So his final wave of pick on his home map, okay? His first pick is Bohemians. And the only map remaining is Golden Pit. So, I mean, one could assume logically that if you pick Bohemians as your first pick... Remember, Liereyy gets the next 2 after that. So it's a pretty big deal. If you do that, we're going to see Bohemians on Golden Pit. I have never seen Bohemians played on Graveyards, on Land Madness, or on Golden Pit. So what Vivi's planning for is not something anyone has ever done before. Then again, no one else has ever played Burgundians on this map either in TTL. So maybe it's just Vivi being Vivi. But starting with more villagers, having cheaper eco upgrades, having lots of options, being very good on an open map is the Chinese, as long as they don't take damage early. Burgundians, when you think about them, you think cheaper eco upgrades. But, a little bit more time until that eco kicks in for them, I suppose, would be the difference. So let's see. This is Vivi we're talking about. He would want stone. So let's try and envision the walls, guys. I think he walls here. I think he walls here. I think he walls here. And if he does that, he has the gold. He has the stone. That is a lot of walling. But considering it is the Fat Dragon, or Vivi, I would say that is probably what he attempts here. The positive is that Chinese normally don't have the fastest feudal age pressure timing. So you actually do have the time to get the walls down. But it's just like, it's tricky, man. This Vivi guy. He also picked Lithuanians, which is one of the best picks for this map. There's relics everywhere. It's a scout rush map. Like, I don't think we'll ever play Lithuanians. One of the most played civs on this map. So, in some ways, if Vivi doesn't get a win today, I think we have to go back to the original strategies and say, I'm not sure I agreed with them. But at the same time, you have to play towards your comforts as a player. And Vivi's comforts as a player have always been very different from other players in the scene. That's just how it works. Relics help Burgundians a bit too. That's a fair point. That's a very fair point. And also the cheaper light cav upgrade can be really helpful when competing for relics. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, so it just doesn't help in the same way as like maybe Lithuanians would have had. But Vivi's going to click up. Lierey's going to click up. Liereyy had the dream of a Chinese start. There's also no lame attempt from Vivi. Sometimes you would go forward and try and steal stuff from Chinese, but because Burgundians rely on defensive eco-type build-up as well, it just feels more comfortable for you to push deer. Still like it more than Licks on Migration. Yeah, Licks came in under prepped with strats as well. I really can't wait to talk to Yo in person about it, because Vivi and Licks are so opposite of him in terms of how they, well, not in all ways they play the game. But like Yo is like a god of the game, right? And he plays the game so differently than the two people that are directly beneath him in the pecking order from China. And it's just interesting. I'd be curious to hear his take on it, But I think it's just a player preference thing. By the way, Lierey's going for Militia. This is not common at all with the Chinese. It's really hard to execute these types of builds and still have the eco upgrades you want. And Vivi's going to see the third one. Liereyy was late with that. You'll also see the villagers on gold, and now his barracks could be denied by the militia. So much for the Chinese not being able to pressure an early feudal. And best of luck to you here, Vivi. Because you need a barracks to be able to make whatever your next building is. And this is, oh boy. It's going to be a little sloppy here for a player who certainly wants to just wall up and wants to play safe. Now, Man-at-Arm upgrades on the way with Bid-Axe. That is impressive. This is so hard to execute on. And just the second game where Lierey's going to open with Militia versus Vivi and just try and pressure him super early. I'm sure there are some viewers who relate to the struggle against the Man-at-Arm plays. And the struggle if you get attacked before you get your walls down. This is just the style, you know, that you're going to see from Liereyy. And he knows Vivi really well. And he has confidence against him. And already has killed a villager. Vivi never scouted this because he was at home pushing in those deer. And he certainly didn't expect it. Because it is not common for the Chinese. And I'm just... It looks a little rough right now for Vivi. I lacked confidence with the Burgundians pick in the first place. And now this. Lierey's playing like a god. It's going to be really tricky to follow this up. I mean, he doesn't have a range. He doesn't have a stable. He's getting bloodlines because... he's getting wheelbarrow because he's housed. This could just be over, in all honesty. So, the Man-at-Arms have definitely paid off. And now the starting scout's dead as well. So we've got one army for Vivi, and that would be the Spearman. That was just inside the town center. You've got no berries. You've got no wood. You have no farms. You are still going for the Castle Age farm upgrade, which feels like it's necessary with the Burgundians. But we don't even have an archer range, Vivi. What? No skirms? I think his plan is tower defense and booming from here. And again, he kind of tried to play onto stone and into castle in the past. It's just super risky. There's taking a risk against a better player. And then there is what Vivi is doing right here. This is like just Vivi things. Oh, hey, snipes the archer. Okay. Snipes the archer and, you know, is mining stone. Maybe there's a bit of a chance. A little quick walling here from Vivi. Watch Vivi win this game. Like, this would be the most Vivi thing ever if he somehow gets the win. It would explain him as a player perfectly. Greed and lack of optimal play. And to be clear, I think it becomes... It's kind of unfair for the guy, too, because he's playing more greedy and he's taking more risks because he knows how big of a star Liereyy is. So, like, this is not... Vivi did not play this way when he got 12 wins or 11 wins, whatever it was, in gold to get promoted. Like, Vivi just played his... He played more quote-unquote normal strategy there. And here he's tried to go high risk, high reward. Towers on the stone. Okay. Liereyy just happy, though, to sit and deny the berries because that's a lot of food that Vivi will need. And Lierey's going to send more archers out. Lierey's macro has been so good here. This is so clean from him, man. Like, everything just seems so perfect. The only mistake he made was losing the archer. Losing the scout was kind of expected, but look at the damage he's done. Let's look at the worker efficiency throughout the whole game. 10% more for Liereyy. He also, of course, has more eco working this whole time. Vivi's going to add a stable. So his plan is maybe a random scout rush at 16 minutes. Liereyy just sits there right on that stable. And the stable will not complete without villagers going down, potentially. And Lierey's close to clicking up to Castle Age. Again, I predicted before Titans League, I thought Vivi's crazy plays could maybe bring him a victory. But he's picked maps that are very close to Lierey's strengths, and I had said it would be 2-1 for Liereyy 3.5 weeks ago. A lot of that was because I thought Liereyy would come in underperforming until the playoffs started. Liereyy has performed at his very highest all Titans League so far. He wants that first place spot. And Vivi, it's been a little painful at times to watch him struggle. This is just going to be Liereyy up to Castle Age. In Castle Age, Lierey's just going to make knights. Vivi's wide open, and Vivi is completely dead right now. He's been completely dead for a while. And I think, like, had he added the stable, Or sorry, had he added the range, he would have been able to take his berries by now. He would have made this, had more space. Still would have been bad. But, like, there's a reason other people aren't trying Burgundians on this map. I think Vivi, that one win he got in the first week, as I don't think this was a drop. I'm going to assume he resigned and then the GG was called. I think that one map that Vivi got that was really good in the first week just keeps baiting him into trying to play Burgundians on this map. But this is not the map to play defensive and boom into your unique units, Vivi. Liereyy goes up 2-0. Still the goal for Vivi is get one win, okay? You snag one victory, you're happy with this because it feels like the players you're really competing against in this group, Sobek and Classic Pro, they're probably not going to get that one victory. I mean, Classic Pro already got 3-0'd by Liereyy in the first round. Sobek will eventually have to play him, but maybe Vivi can do it. He picked Bohemians as his first civilization. Bit of a head scratcher, but maybe it'll be too much of a head scratcher for Liereyy. Maybe Liereyy will not know what to expect, and I know that Vivi can at least wall the next map. All right, game 3, and while I still find it incredibly weird that Vivi picked Bohemians first on his draft, and we're never going to see them played in this play all 3, I really like this Civ selection from him. He's gone for the Vietnamese. Again, the goal should be just to get one win against Liereyy here. Could really help with his chances of survival in the group of death, right? Where Liereyy, Tato, Viper, all 3 of those players in most people's top 5s found themselves in the same group here. Vietnamese were buffed recently, and it was a pretty wild one because I think Vietnamese were already in a really good spot. They always had cheaper eco upgrades where it was you didn't spend any wood on your eco upgrades. They always knew where the opponent's TC was. They always had more HP on their archers. Pretty solid tech tree, great late game stuff. But now their eco upgrades also research a bit faster too, which I think players are still kind of figuring out. And Vivi, this is Lierey's home map. He's got a great archer civilization and then also kind of like a great archer counter civilization in the Vietnamese. So Imperial Skirmisher, Rats, and Archer all could be really good against Mayans. The Mayans are known for their archer strength. All that said, you would still need to find an answer to the Eagles. If it does go late and it's even, though, you could do so with the Elephants or with the Champions. But I think the concern here is the same as every game you're up against Liereyy with an Archer Civ, is can you make it to mid-castle age without being dead? Because he is so good with the militia openings. I mean, every game, he's gone for the militia openings, and he holds control. We'll see how Vivi wants to play it. Now, you can wall this if you want to be really defensive. It's way more realistic to wall this than it was the previous map. But still think you need to open with some level of offensive military. I could see scouts and then maybe skirmishers later being the option for Vivi, but I'm curious to see how he plays it. I agree, this lumber camp is very weird. I chose not to say anything, though, because I didn't want to be too critical on poor Vivi. But then someone else said it, so I guess you're the one who's critical, not me. It's a lumber camp you place when you haven't fully scouted the wood line yet. Feels like a lumber camp here, gives you more trees on each side of it. Now, this is probably just caster brain, and I'm looking into it too much. But he resigned in the previous game. Liereyy then said GG, and then Vivi added GG after. Which is a little untypical. Typically, it's the player calls the GG, then resigns, other person responds. So I wonder if maybe the resigning and the gap between the resigning and the GG is just Vivi being a little frustrated. And that game did not feel good. Like, to have confidence that you can get a victory after game 2... But Liereyy just dominated you and you resigned before even being close to getting the resources for Castle Age. It's probably not going to lead to high confidence here. But, I don't think there's taking risks, but there's also selling yourself short. And I really think that Vivi has the ability, as shown in even game number 1, Vivi's got the ability to still play somewhat standard. You don't have to go for extreme risks. Yeah, Liereyy plays Amazing Age of Empires all the time, but give yourself a shot, right? It almost feels like defeating. It's like trying to do something you know won't work. That's what game number 2 felt like. And did Vivi lose a vill to the... Oh my god, did he really just lose a villager? It says he's down a vill. How? He lost the villager to the rhino. Yikes! Yikes! I didn't know. I didn't know. Well, okay. Well, that doesn't make things any better for Vivi. And again, I'll try and look for positives here. But Lierey's going to kill another one. Oh! No, he won't, actually. There we go. That's the positive. Let's go, Vivi. There's going to be militia on the way here as well. But Vivi, prepping some palisade walls. He did see the barracks with his scouts, so he should know. And Liereyy going for a bit of full wall action behind this. And so it's the Drush. God, this lumber camp makes me want to scream. It's bad, guys. But, hey, villagers protected. All right. Vivi on the way to the next stage. I'm unsure on if he's going to be able to really build up anything of value. It feels like his eco is still really at the limit right now. But eventually we'll probably see a barracks from him. And then Liereyy clicks up behind this. So a little blast from the past in terms of our meta with the little pre-militia drush into some walling into archers seems to be the play here for Liereyy. Really good map for him with the golden stone. Pretty good map for Vivi with the golden stone in the back as well. Obviously though, he needs to fight for map control. And guys, Vivi doesn't even have a barracks yet. Like, this is... I think... Oh, what the... Okay, let's go, Vivi. It's been a no good, terrible, bad day, whatever the quote is, okay? Yeah, it's been horrible. But why don't you just do something wacky, my friend? He's going to go for something wacky, guys. Now, will Vivi build this right next to where Liereyy can see it? Oh, my God. Well, you just know it's not your day when Lierey's casually walking out here to take the hunt, and then he sees your forward. But I guess it's going to be like spears and skirms as the plan here, and potentially some towers. And yeah, Vivi's like, I'm already playing pretty poorly. It's already pretty messy for me. Let's try and give Liereyy a game that he's not too familiar with. Okay, so we have quick wall. And quick wall again. He's trying to trap this army, but he doesn't really have what it takes to kill it right now. But there's the archer. Okay. The scouts coming in as well, which could definitely help. I don't think Liereyy necessarily knew about this. And Vivi should be able to kill one villager with this. He actually should kill more. This villager's being chased down. That might need a quick wall from Liereyy. Let's see. We haven't seen much of that from him today. Liereyy loses a villager. Okay, Lierey's now going to lose 2 villagers. So, just as everyone expected, Vivi going forward with Spearmen versus the Mayans and combining skirmishers with it when Archer is the traditional follow-up does make a lot of sense. He's now dropping a tower, and need I remind you guys, this is a huge game for Liereyy. Viper already 3-0'd Vivi, and Tato may do the same. We'll see. So, you know, Liereyy losing this game could potentially lose him that race to first place in this group. Would mean that he would need to head into the playoffs. Obviously, same stuff for Vivi in terms of survival. Okay? And then it's $40. $40 to win the game, too. Which isn't bad. I think that's pretty respectable. Like, can someone factor in how much Liereyy made per hour with how quickly he won game 2? What is that? On average? That game was so quick. That's like $200 an hour or something. I don't know. Not exactly how it works, obviously. So, okay, Vivi's gone forward. And, you know, at this point, it's looking like his push is lacking some teeth. Little quick walls. And, well, now he needs more quick walls. I like how Lierey's made eagles. Eagles, really good here. And he's got quite a few of them. And as positive, as exciting as I've sounded about Vivi's situation, I feel as though this may be the end of the forward soon. He's got to be really careful here. I mean, Liereyy clearly doesn't think that this is going to be a problem because he's just going to take the next deer right next to this. Let's see what the micro is like. We don't have as many skirmishers right now for Liereyy. He is going to kill the scout, though, and now the eagles don't really have a solid counter. And villager from Vivi will get pulled away. Again, though, it's messy. This reminds me, like, I like this so much more than what we saw from game number 2 from Vivi. Even if it doesn't work, I think you're not giving Liereyy the type of game that he wants here. Quick walls, good stuff. A villager could still easily be killed by the skirms, though, so you need to kill the skirmishers now, Vivi. Villager gets killed. But Vivi's still here. And back at home, Feudal is not looking phenomenal. But he's still got some stuff to work with here with 32 villagers. I think what you would want on the back of this is a scout rush. If you go into scouts off the back of this, after Lierey's made a lot of skirms and eagles, it could be good. I don't know if the economy is there, but that would be the idea. For Liereyy, he's brought in some hunts. He's on farms in terms of res collected. It's probably much better for him, and it is. But he hasn't really been able to counterattack Vivi, and there's still potential for a lot of things to happen here in Feudal Age. D-Bent says, I would take 40 bucks for a win in Discord. Do you win in Discord, D-Bent? I don't know. I haven't looked at the bracket. No offense. You got archers and skirms trying their best. No fletching in for Vivi, though. Again, this has been pretty erratic the whole game, and having lost the villager earlier and the way the lumber setup looked, it always felt like he was going to have less in the way of resources. Still able to keep some of the vills alive, but that guy's going to be sniped. The next one's going to be sniped. His skirms are going to be sniped. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is with the allergies here. But, yeah, Vivi's going to lose his forward vills. And Liereyy has dealt with it. And he's also going to click up to the castle age very soon here. So this is not looking great for Vivi. Is the result unexpected? No. Have we seen Vivi come below the level that I think he's capable of due to the lack of confidence here? I think so, yes. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he didn't get some sleep. He misclicked his civilizations on the draft. So, I mean, in all fairness, so did Liereyy. It was a very interesting start to the series. But Liereyy clicks up. Liereyy counterattacking with 2 skirmishers on the farms. Vivi's going to add the scouts now. And this makes sense. Adding scouts against this type of play, it's all good. We talked about it moments ago. But you need to find value on this attack soon. Because if you don't, it'll be Castle Age for Liereyy, and Liereyy should dominate there. Vivi sneaks in with archers. He's going to find a villager kill. He will probably not find any more kills with this, though. Good job from Liereyy. He was expecting there was this potential. And Liereyy fails the quick wall. Still not a big deal for him, though. Here he knows there's scouts on the field, so that's why he needs to rush the walls down, because if it was scouts and also archers, it'd be a different story. But he has walled. He's on 2 barracks now. And it's not just going to be Lierey's faster to castle age. Like, Vivi won't even have clicked by the time Liereyy hits. So, yeah, all the Feudal Age army that's out there right now from Vivi, it won't be able to do anything. Except maybe distract and buy time. Just not Vivi's day, guys. Losing the villager underneath the TC. That's not something you see too much these days. 5 years ago, Vivi's around in the pro scene, right? A lot of players lost villagers sometimes. There's more lag. Play was a little bit more sloppy. These days, seeing a villager lost underneath the TC is like... It is extremely rare. And for good reason. It's probably even rare for 1300s these days. I don't know if there's any 1300s out there that can confirm that. Maybe you don't want to talk about it, and if so, that's my answer, I guess. Obviously, Vivi doesn't break in. Vivi sees the castle age time from Liereyy. Here's the eagles from Liereyy. Vivi is not walled. I like this from Liereyy. Sends 3 eagles forward and uses the eagles that are on the backside, to kill this villager. And Vivi then didn't know these eagles were coming, thought he had a little bit more time, and he calls the GG because he's going to lose those villagers. And so Vivi not looking fantastic today. Liereyy continues to dominate, though. Liereyy has just lost one single game in all of TTL Season 3 thus far. Liereyy lost that game in his series against Tato, but of course he won that series 2-1. So Liereyy 3-0'd Classic Pro, 2-1 Tato. Now he's 3-0'd Vivi. It really does feel like this is all leading up towards that series up against Viper at the tail end of the group stage. Now, next up after this will be Viper versus Sobek, and once we complete Viper versus Sobek, we will have an idea of what the situation is in the group. But for the time being, we can still look at what the results are right now. Okay, so this is the updated results. Just took a moment for us in the group right now. So as it stands, Liereyy is 80% odds for first place, which would mean that Viper and Tato would go playoffs as the second and third place players do in TTL. So this would be a massive deal for Viper and Tato. Now, that means there's a lot of importance on the very next series where Viper would want to go up to 7 wins with a 3-0 against Sobek. And then, of course, Viper and Liereyy will eventually play each other. So that's exciting times. But Lierey's looking like the favorite right now in the group.